My name is Ophelia Medina Canales. The way you would pronounce that in my, I guess, heritage would be Ophelia Medina Canales.
Ophelia Medina Canales was a first-generation American that has had enough experiences to create a firm grasp on citizenship as a topic. Today we will be taking a deep dive into her story and experiences, as well as what citizenship means to her.
Citizenship to me means a belonging, ownership, where my voice can be heard.
Citizenship means the status of being a citizen in a country. However, many people would consider citizenship to mean far more than that. Common understandings include the ways citizens are treated by their surroundings and how they may be represented by their state. What exactly was it like being a first-generation American?
Well, I didn't realize that wasn't an important thing for my life until I was 17, 18, when I left home and went to a part of the country where there was more Hispanic people like myself. And then it just kind of made me realize just my life where I grew up at, it made me look back at the history of my family, how I got to where I was born at. My citizenship was from being born here, but my family, my mother, she gained citizenship because she married my father, he was born in the United States. So when you're a kid growing up, you don't even think about that until you're off on your own and you have to, experience life. And when I realized that, when I saw that, that my mom was from the country of Mexico, and I've never been there. I mean, I've been to what they say across the border, which is a couple miles. But where she grew up at, deep into that country, I've never been there. I hear stories about it, the family, and even my mother, all the years that she was in the country here, the United States, which was oh my gosh, ever since she was 16 years old, and she passed away at 82. So how many years is that? Over 40 some years, 50. I think she made it back to her homeland maybe 3 times. It was just not something that you could afford or make transportation to go back and see. But her siblings, which would have been my aunts and uncles, they always considered, since you had citizenship in this country, that we were had more luxury, had more, freedom, had more. They just looked at this country as having more to offer than what they had. So the first time I actually got to personally experience that, and like I said, I was 17, and I had a brother that lived in San Diego, California, which is probably 15, 20 miles from the borderline of Mexico. And I was only 16, 17 at the time. But when you cross that border, it's like night and day. You definitely know you're no longer in Kansas. It's night and day. And I was so paranoid thinking that they weren't going to let me come back through because I looked so much like I belong there. I didn't stand out as far as looks goes, but as far as, to me, I felt totally out of place. That was made look like the rest of them, but I didn't feel like them, So, and that's when I remember thinking, I'm really glad that I wasn't born in that country.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your mother's story?
My mother, she is the oldest sibling of 4. Her mother died when she was like 8 years old. So she was the oldest of the 4 siblings. And at the age of 16, she had a relative, an uncle or someone that was in the state of Texas that was needed some care. Somehow they called on her, they brought her over to come help care for this uncle. And so during that time, that's when she met my father. And then my father and her got married, and so I guess that's how she got her citizenship. And then just trying to survive and work. My dad, as he grew up, he was a rancher. Back in the state of Texas, there's a lot of hills and valleys, and they what's that word, where they walk the cattle, through the grazing, it was all by foot and horse, and then I don't know, somehow he met a friend. I don't know how he come across his friend, but this friend was from the north, and they just migrated and did other jobs and work. And one of his main jobs that my father did was masonry work. So as they traveled, and they built complexes and houses and apartments, because I remember the hometown that I grew up in, my father had built the apartment complex, which bricklaying, so a bunch of bricklaying. And as time went on, he ended up buying the farm that I grew up on, and did farming for ever since I've known, since I was a child. He did farming ever since he could, until he actually passed away.
There is no denying the fact that newly found citizens of America, or any country for that matter, may have a hard time with their transition. However, for many families, the change can mean better opportunities, better freedom, and more. Next, we asked Ophelia how her mother's decision to come to America affected her life, and how exactly she thinks her life would be different if her mother had not made that decision.
How do you think your life would have been different if your mother never immigrated to America?
Oh my God, I couldn't even, just to think about that. I can only imagine what that would have been like. I wouldn't even want to think about it, because I know for a fact that it would be a whole lot different if I would have never been, if my mother would have never came here. We grew up on the farm. When I was a child, I thought that was really hard work and a lot. But now that I was growing up and everything, I was so thankful for learning the life lessons we did learn, the hard work, the raising of our own food. I look back and I think we actually had a gold mine. and we didn't even realize it. If I wouldn't have been here, how would my life been down there? And the stories I hear just from the family, that it's tough. I mean, it's different. But the family that I know that's down there, I mean, they don't look like, that's their life. That's their lifestyle. They don't see it as anything, different, because when you don't have anything to compare to, that's just your life. That's the way things are, And as I was growing up, I mean, this was my life. I really didn't compare anything till once I left home and was able to see that there's different people and different cultures and different lifestyles and different way of living. But when I compare my life that I grew up with the life that I know my mother's family grew up with, I'm glad I was over here, that I grew up in the United States. Like I said, I never really gone to visit my mother's side of the family. I just hear stories and stuff. There were stories that my mom would tell me when she went to go visit. I mean, it'd be a whole day's travel just to go see an aunt. That was by a bus on dirt roads. A lot of the living facilities it was like a house, but the floor was dirt, and there was one line going through the house that actually would have a light bulb, but you didn't have electricity. You didn't have running water in the house. You didn't have, so that means like your toilet. Yeah, you didn't have a toilet. It was an outhouse. But that was their lifestyle. I mean, to them that's how you did it. They didn't think that they were any less, or because they didn't have the electricity or the running water. That was just how you did life. There's a lot to be grateful for, but you won't ever appreciate that until you can compare that to another lifestyle.
Today, we have learned how much citizenship should be valued in our day-to-day lives, and how we should grow to have a firm understanding of the different cultural experiences, country to country or region to region. So then, what is citizenship? In short, while of course citizenship means the status of being a citizen in a country, from person to person, it can mean so much more than that. It can mean their allegiance to their country, their feeling of security, or even the symbolization of the progress made by a family. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.